20 experts failed, but the poor cleaning lady solved it in 1 minute. And what the CEO millionaire did. Hello everyone. Before we begin today's story, I have a small favor to ask. Please hit subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you never miss our channel's new videos. It's quick, free, and the best way to support us in bringing you more dramatic stories. Your support means the world to us. Where are you watching from? Drop your city or country in the comments below. Thank you very much. Now, let's dive into today's story. Picture this, a multi-million-dollar project, countless experts with years of experience, and yet, nobody could find a solution. It was one of the most critical problems that the company had ever faced, and failure seemed inevitable. The project was in jeopardy, the investors were breathing down the CEO's neck, and the experts were running out of ideas. The clock was ticking, and with every passing second, the pressure was mounting. The CEO, Liam Parker, paced back and forth in his office, his face tense with frustration. He had spent millions of dollars on this venture, and yet, here he was, facing an issue that no one could solve. His best engineers, analysts, and project managers had all come up short. The deadline was fast approaching, and the consequences of failure were too big to imagine. As he sat in his office, surrounded by stacks of reports and technical diagrams, his mind kept racing back to the one person who had always been there, working quietly in the background, Maggie, the cleaning lady. Maggie had worked at Parker Enterprises for over 5 years, and every day she diligently did her job, cleaning the hallways, scrubbing the floors, and quietly observing the goings-on of the company. Nobody really paid attention to her. She was just another face in the crowd, another worker who kept the office clean. But today, Maggie would be the one to save the day. It happened when Liam found himself walking down the hallway, still deep in thought, trying to come up with a solution to the problem that had him stuck. He bumped into Maggie in the hallway, her mop in hand as she was finishing up her work. She smiled at him, as she always did, but today, there was something different in her eyes. She seemed to be looking at him with a quiet understanding. "Is everything all right, Mr. Parker?" Maggie asked, her voice soft yet genuine. Liam, feeling the weight of the world on his shoulders, sighed deeply. He looked at her, and for the first time, felt the urge to talk to her. "Not really, Maggie," he admitted. "We've got a problem, and no one seems to have the answer. This project, it's failing, and I don't know how to fix it." Maggie paused, her eyes never leaving his. She didn't say anything for a moment, but then, as if a light bulb had gone off in her head, she said something that made Liam stop in his tracks. "Maybe you're overthinking it," she said simply. "Sometimes, the solution is right in front of you, but you're too focused on the big picture to see it." Liam blinked, puzzled. "What do you mean?" Maggie gestured to a nearby blueprint that was pinned to the wall, a document that had been part of the failed brainstorming sessions. "I've seen this kind of thing before," she said, pointing at a small detail on the design. "It's simple. You just need to adjust this part, and it'll work." But nobody ever notices the small things. Liam stared at her, not quite understanding at first. But then it clicked. He looked at the diagram again and saw what Maggie had seen. It was a small, seemingly insignificant flaw in the design that none of the experts had noticed. Without that detail fixed, the whole project would have continued to fail. With a sense of awe, Liam realized that Maggie, the cleaning lady, had just solved the problem that had stumped 20 of the best minds in the company. He could hardly believe it. Maggie didn't have a degree in engineering. She didn't have a fancy title or a long list of credentials. She was just a cleaning lady, doing her job. But her perspective had been different, and it was that very difference that led to the solution. Liam knew that he had to act fast. He immediately called a meeting with the team, showing them the adjustment Maggie had pointed out. It was a simple fix, but it would save the project. Within hours, the solution was implemented, and the project was back on track. Liam couldn't believe his eyes. He had been so caught up in his own expectations, relying on his experts, that he had missed the answer right in front of him. But Maggie, she had seen it all along. From that moment, everything changed. Liam knew he couldn't just let this moment pass. He called Maggie into his office. "You just saved this company, Maggie," he said, his voice filled with gratitude. Maggie just smiled, her humility shining through. "I just did my job, Mr. Parker. I didn't do anything special." But Liam knew that what Maggie had done was nothing short of extraordinary. And in that moment, he realized that sometimes, The greatest solutions come from the most unexpected places. The next day, Liam Parker was in his office, reflecting on what had happened. He had been running through meetings, solving problems, and managing his billion-dollar empire for years, but nothing had ever hit him like this. He had spent days, weeks, even months trying to fix this issue with the project, relying on the brightest minds in the company. Yet, it was Maggie, the cleaning lady, who had walked in and solved it in a minute. He couldn't shake off the feeling that something deeper was at play here. As Liam sat there, staring at the blueprint Maggie had pointed out to him the day before, a question lingered in his mind. Why had he not seen this simple solution? He had been surrounded by so much expertise, so much data, yet it took someone on the outside, someone with a completely different perspective, to spot the flaw. That realization was both humbling and enlightening. Maggie wasn't just a cleaning lady. She was a woman with wisdom, observation, and a keen eye for detail that many had missed. For the first time in a long time, Liam found himself questioning his approach to leadership. Was he too focused on credentials and titles? Had he been ignoring the value of the people around him who didn't have fancy degrees or high-powered jobs? He decided to do something about it. He immediately walked down to the floor where Maggie worked. She was finishing up cleaning one of the conference rooms, the usual hum of the vacuum filling the air. He stood there for a moment, watching her, unsure of how to approach her. Maggie looked up, catching his eye, and gave him a small smile, but didn't say anything. "Maggie, can I talk to you for a minute?" Liam asked, his voice calm but filled with gratitude. Maggie paused, wiped her hands on her cleaning cloth, and nodded. "Of course, Mr. Parker. What's on your mind?" Liam took a deep breath. "I want to offer you something, Maggie. I don't think I can put into words how much what you did yesterday meant to this company, but I want to make sure you know how valuable you are." Maggie blinked, confused. "I'm just doing my job, Mr. Parker." "No, you're doing more than that. I've been thinking a lot about how we approach things here. We've all been so focused on the big names, the big titles, the so-called experts. But I've realized that there's wisdom and value in everyone, regardless of their position. And I want to offer you a chance to join a more significant project in the company. I want you to be part of the team that works on the next phase of this project, with a title, if that's what you'd like. You've already proven you have what it takes." Maggie stood there shocked. "Mr. Parker, I don't know what to say. I've never been offered something like this before." Liam smiled, his tone genuine. "You don't have to say anything now. Take your time to think about it. But I want you to know that your perspective is incredibly valuable, and I want to give you the platform to make a bigger impact." Maggie's eyes softened, and she looked down for a moment, her mind racing. She had never imagined that her role as a cleaning lady would lead to something like this. But there it was, an opportunity, an acknowledgement that she had something unique to offer. She had always known that there was more to life than just cleaning up other people's messes, but she never expected her moment to shine would come in such a remarkable way. As she stood there, her heart racing, she realized that maybe it wasn't just about the work. It was about being seen, being heard, and that recognition from Liam Parker meant everything. "Thank you, Mr. Parker," she finally said, her voice filled with sincerity. "I'll think about it. I never imagined anything like this would happen." Liam nodded, his eyes warm. "Take your time, Maggie. But I have no doubt that you'll do great things, just like you did yesterday." As Maggie walked back to finish her cleaning duties, she couldn't help but smile to herself. Life had a funny way of surprising you. She had gone from a quiet cleaning lady to being offered a chance to change the course of the project, and maybe even her life. She didn't know what the future held, but for the first time in a long time, she felt like she had a place in it. As Liam returned to his office, he couldn't help but feel a sense of pride in his decision. He had learned something valuable that day. Leadership wasn't just about being at the top. It was about recognizing the potential in everyone, no matter their title. Maggie had shown him that. And in the process, he had discovered a new way to lead. With humility, respect, and a willingness to see the worth in others, no matter where they came from. After Liam's offer to Maggie, the office atmosphere changed. It wasn't just because a simple cleaning lady had solved a massive problem that the experts could not. It was because for the first time in years, Liam was looking at his company, his people, and even himself through a completely new lens. Maggie had shown him something no one else had, the power of fresh perspectives and the untapped potential in those around him. As he sat at his desk, Pondering over his decision to offer her a chance to join the team, he couldn't shake the feeling that this was a turning point for the company, and for him personally. Maggie was nervous but excited as she walked into the meeting room the next morning. She wasn't sure what to expect, but as she stepped into the sleek, glass-walled conference room where Liam and the team were waiting, she felt like an outsider in a world she hadn't known existed. The experts, the engineers, the managers, they were all there, sitting around the polished table, their eyes on her. "Maggie, thank you for coming," Liam said, standing up and gesturing for her to take a seat at the head of the table. Maggie hesitated for a moment but sat down, feeling a little out of place but also oddly empowered. The team members exchanged glances, clearly surprised by her presence. They didn't know what to expect, and Maggie didn't blame them. After all, she had only cleaned their offices and kept the place running smoothly. But today, she wasn't just a cleaning lady. She was a part of something bigger. "Maggie has been an invaluable part of our company for years," Liam began, looking around the table. "But yesterday, she did something that none of us could. She solved a problem that none of the experts could figure out. We need people like Maggie who see things from a different angle, who aren't confined by the norms of the business world." The team listened in silence, and Maggie felt her palms start to sweat. She wasn't used to this kind of attention, but she knew she had to be strong. Liam continued, "Today, I want to officially invite Maggie to work with us on this project. She's going to join the team as a key advisor. Let's hear what she has to say about the project's next steps." The room went quiet. The engineers and experts were still processing the idea of a cleaning lady, now an advisor, joining their team. But Maggie stood up, holding a piece of paper in her hand. "I think the project needs more than just fixing small details," Maggie said, her voice calm but firm. "It needs to rethink the way we approach things. We're too focused on the technical side, but we're not paying enough attention to the people who are going to use the product. We need to consider their needs, their experiences, and their challenges." The experts were taken aback, unsure of how to respond. They were used to thinking of problems in terms of data, numbers, and facts. Maggie, however, was offering them a perspective they hadn't considered, a human one. She continued, "Sometimes, the best solutions come not from the people with the most degrees or the highest positions. They come from the people who are doing the work every day, the ones who interact with the product, who see things up close and personal." As Maggie spoke, Liam couldn't help but feel a surge of pride. He had made the right choice in bringing her into the fold. Maggie wasn't just offering advice. She was teaching the team something they needed to hear. The team's initial skepticism began to fade as Maggie's words resonated with them. Slowly, they started nodding in agreement. They realized that Maggie's approach, grounded in empathy and real-world experience, was exactly what the project needed. "Maggie, I think you're onto something," one of the engineers said. "We've been so caught up in the technical details that we've forgotten about the human aspect of this." Another member of the team added, "You're right. We need to make this product more accessible to everyone, not just those who understand the technology." Liam looked at Maggie with newfound respect. "Thank you, Maggie," he said sincerely. "Your insight has already made a huge difference." As the meeting continued, the team began discussing the project's new direction, incorporating Maggie's perspective into the plan. It wasn't just about fixing the problem anymore. It was about building something that would truly serve the people who would use it. The room was filled with a renewed sense of energy and purpose. For Maggie, this moment felt surreal. She had spent so many years working in the background, never dreaming that her observations and ideas could change the course of such a significant project. But here she was, leading the conversation, helping shape the future of a multi-million-dollar venture. As the meeting came to a close, Liam turned to Maggie. "I'm glad you're here, Maggie. I've learned a lot from you in just these few hours. Thank you for reminding us of what truly matters." Maggie smiled softly. "Thank you for giving me the chance, Mr. Parker. I'll do my best." She left the meeting feeling like a completely different person. She wasn't just a cleaning lady anymore. She was part of something bigger, something meaningful. As she walked back to her small office, Maggie felt a sense of pride and accomplishment that she had never experienced before. The path ahead was still uncertain, but she knew one thing for sure. She was no longer invisible. She had been seen, heard, and valued. And that made all the difference. The days that followed Maggie's meeting with Liam were a blur of excitement, uncertainty, and change. Maggie was no longer just the woman who cleaned the offices. She was now part of the team, offering insights and ideas that were shaping the future of the project. The transition wasn't easy, and she still had moments where the weight of the responsibility felt overwhelming. She had gone from being invisible to being at the center of it all. The first few days were filled with long meetings, discussions, and brainstorming sessions. Maggie sat quietly at first, listening intently as the team discussed the technical aspects of the project. She felt out of place at times, surrounded by experts with years of education and experience. But slowly, she started to speak up, offering ideas that often left the room in stunned silence. What she lacked in formal education, she made up for with her unique perspective and unshakable intuition. Liam noticed how the team was starting to pay more attention to her, how they were listening to her suggestions. He could see it in their eyes. She wasn't just a cleaning lady anymore. She was a vital part of the team. One afternoon, as Liam was walking through the office, he stopped by Maggie's desk. He had been meaning to talk to her, to see how she was adjusting to the new role. "Maggie, how are you holding up?" he asked, his voice warm and genuine. Maggie looked up from the papers she was reviewing, a slight smile on her face. "I'm doing okay, Mr. Parker. It's a lot to take in, but I'm learning. It's just, everything is so different from what I was used to." Liam nodded, understanding. "I know it's a big change, but I have to say, you've been doing an incredible job. I've never seen the team so energized. You've brought something to this project that none of us expected." Maggie looked down a little shy. "I don't know about that. I'm just doing what I can." Liam smiled, his eyes filled with appreciation. "You're doing more than that, Maggie. You're showing us all what it means to think outside the box, to approach problems from a different angle. You've reminded us that sometimes the best solutions don't come from the most obvious places." As Maggie sat there, she felt a surge of pride, a feeling that was still new to her. She had never imagined that she would be in a position like this. Her entire life, she had always been overlooked, dismissed. But now, she was making a real difference. She had found her voice, and it was powerful. Later that week, as Maggie was working late in her office, Liam called her into his. He had an idea, one that would change the direction of the entire project. "Maggie, I need your help with something. We're about to launch a new phase of the project, but I think we're missing something crucial. I want you to help us design the presentation for our investors. You've got a knack for seeing things in a way that we haven't." Maggie felt a lump form in her throat. "Me? You want me to present?" Liam nodded. "You've earned it. I want you to be a key part of this presentation. You've earned the right to lead us in this." Maggie's heart raced. She had never done anything like this before. Public speaking, standing in front of important people, it terrified her. But she also knew that this was her chance to prove to herself that she could do it. That she wasn't just a cleaning lady anymore. She was Maggie, an integral part of a multi-million-dollar project. The night before the presentation, Maggie stayed up late, practicing her lines and organizing her thoughts. Her nerves were on edge, but she was determined to make it work. She had come too far to back down now. The next day, she stood in front of the boardroom, her palms sweating and her heart pounding. The investors, the experts, and the executives were all seated at the table, waiting for her to speak. As she began, Maggie's voice wavered at first, but she quickly found her rhythm. She spoke with confidence, passion, and clarity. She explained the direction the project was heading, the insights she had brought to the table, and the vision for the future. By the end of the presentation, there wasn't a dry eye in the room. Liam watched from the back, a proud smile on his face. Maggie had done it. She had stood in front of the investors, and had given them a vision they could believe in. It wasn't just about numbers and charts. It was about heart, about understanding the people behind the project. When the meeting ended, the investors were clapping, and Maggie felt something she had never felt before: respect. She wasn't just a woman in the background anymore. She was a leader, a force to be reckoned with. Liam walked up to her after the meeting, his eyes filled with admiration. "That was incredible, Maggie. You knocked it out of the park." Maggie's smile was a little shy, but it was genuine. "Thank you, Mr. Parker. I couldn't have done it without your support." Liam smiled, his voice soft. "You've earned every bit of it, Maggie. I'm just glad I could see the potential in you. You've changed everything." Maggie stood there for a moment, soaking in the moment. She had found her place, not just in the company, but in the world. She wasn't invisible anymore. She had a voice, and it mattered. Weeks passed, and the project that once seemed doomed was now thriving. Thanks to Maggie's insights and Liam's leadership, the team was working together more cohesively than ever before, and the company was starting to see the results of their efforts. Maggie had become an integral part of the team, a respected advisor who was no longer just a cleaning lady in the eyes of the company. She had proven herself to be a valuable asset, and as the weeks went by, Liam found himself increasingly impressed by her work ethic, her intelligence, and her ability to bring a fresh perspective to every challenge. One afternoon, as the team gathered for another update meeting, Liam stood at the front, looking at the group of people who had once been skeptical of Maggie's place in the company. He could see the change in their attitudes, the respect they now had for her. As Maggie entered the room, she was greeted with nods and smiles, something that would have seemed impossible just a few months ago. "Maggie, I just wanted to take a moment to thank you," Liam said, his voice sincere. "You've been more than just a part of this team. You've been the key to our success. I've learned a lot from you, and I know the rest of the team feels the same." Maggie felt a warm flush spread across her cheeks. She wasn't used to this kind of attention, but it was different now. She had earned it. "Thank you, Mr. Parker," Maggie said, her voice steady. "I couldn't have done it without everyone's support." Liam nodded, his eyes filled with gratitude. "You've shown us what true leadership looks like. You've made us all better." As the meeting continued, Maggie's confidence grew. She wasn't just an outsider anymore. She was a leader, someone who was trusted and valued. The project was nearing completion, and the team was on track to deliver something truly groundbreaking. Maggie had helped them see beyond the technical aspects and focus on the people they were creating for, the users who would ultimately benefit from the product. That night, after the meeting, Liam asked Maggie to stay behind for a moment. "Maggie, I've been thinking," he began, his tone serious. "I want to offer you something more. You've proven yourself in this project, and I think it's time we give you the recognition you deserve. I want you to have a leadership role in this company, not just in the project, but in the entire organization." Maggie stared at him, her heart racing. "A leadership role?" she repeated, still trying to process what he was saying. "Yes," Liam said. "I want you to lead a new division we're starting. You'll be in charge of bringing innovative ideas to the company and helping us stay ahead of the curve. I believe you're the perfect person for this role." Maggie felt overwhelmed by the offer. She had come so far from the woman who had scrubbed the floors of the company. She had never imagined that she would one day lead a division of her own. "I don't know what to say," Maggie said, her voice barely above a whisper. "Say yes," Liam replied with a smile. "You've earned it." Maggie's mind raced. She had spent so many years working to survive, to get by, never imagining that she would be in a position like this. But now, here she was, standing at the precipice of a new chapter in her life. A chapter where she wasn't just cleaning up after others, she was leading them. She took a deep breath and nodded. "Yes," she said, her voice full of determination. "I accept." From that moment on, Maggie's life changed forever. She stepped into her new role, and with Liam's mentorship and the support of her team, she quickly became one of the most influential leaders in the company. Maggie proved that success wasn't determined by your job title or your background. It was determined by your ability to bring value, to see the big picture, and to never stop believing in yourself. Liam had recognized her potential when no one else had, and he had given her the opportunity to prove herself. But it was Maggie who had done the hard work, who had shown up every day with a fresh perspective and a willingness to push through the challenges. As Maggie walked through the office the next morning, her head held high, she realized that she had finally found her place. She had come from cleaning floors to leading a team, and she knew that the journey was just beginning. She wasn't just a cleaning lady anymore. She was Maggie, the woman who had changed everything. Maggie's rise within the company was nothing short of extraordinary. As she settled into her new leadership role, she couldn't help but feel a sense of awe at how much her life had changed in such a short time. Just months ago, she was scrubbing floors, blending into the background, invisible to most of the world. Now, she was leading a division, shaping the future of the company, and most importantly, earning the respect she had never imagined. Liam continued to mentor her, always offering guidance and support, but Maggie was quickly proving herself. She had an intuition for business, an eye for detail, and a way of connecting with people that no one else could replicate. Her division became the heart of the company's innovation efforts, focusing not just on new technologies, but on improving the way the company served its customers. One morning, as she sat at her desk, reviewing proposals for the next phase of development, Maggie was interrupted by a knock on her office door. She looked up to see Liam standing in the doorway, a thoughtful expression on his face. "Maggie, do you have a minute?" he asked. Maggie smiled and gestured for him to come in. "Of course. What's on your mind?" Liam stepped into the room and closed the door behind him. "I've been hearing a lot of great things about you from the team. You've really turned things around, Maggie. But I wanted to talk to you about something else." Maggie raised an eyebrow, curious. "What's that?" "I've been thinking," Liam continued, his voice serious. "You've done an incredible job here, but I think it's time for you to take on an even bigger challenge. I want to offer you the opportunity to lead a major project with a global impact. You'll be responsible for overseeing a team of top-tier experts, and the project will be one of the most high-profile ventures the company has ever undertaken." Maggie felt a rush of excitement and nervousness wash over her. This was the kind of opportunity she had always dreamed of, but never thought she would get. "That's incredible, Mr. Parker. But why me? Why would you want me to lead such a huge project?" Liam smiled. "Because you've shown me something that no one else has: how to think outside the box, how to approach problems from a new perspective. You've proven that you don't need to have a fancy title or a degree to lead with vision and purpose. And that's exactly what this project needs." Maggie sat in stunned silence for a moment, processing the offer. She had always dreamed of taking on more responsibility, of leading something that could truly make a difference. But this was on a whole new level. A global project? A team of experts? It felt like a leap into the unknown, but Maggie knew that if anyone could handle it, it was her. She took a deep breath and looked up at Liam. "I accept," she said, her voice filled with determination. "I won't let you down." Liam nodded, his expression one of pride. "I know you won't. This is just the beginning, Maggie. I have no doubt you'll continue to surprise us all with what you can accomplish." As the weeks passed, Maggie threw herself into the new project with everything she had. She worked long hours, collaborated with her team, and pushed the boundaries of what they could achieve. The project began to take shape, and Maggie's leadership skills shone through. She was a natural at guiding the team, inspiring them to think creatively, and pushing them to exceed expectations. But the journey wasn't without its challenges. There were moments of doubt, moments when Maggie questioned whether she was truly capable of leading such a massive project. There were setbacks, unforeseen complications, and moments when the pressure seemed unbearable. But every time she faced a challenge, she remembered why she had come this far. She had overcome the odds before, and she could do it again. One late evening, as Maggie reviewed the final proposal for the project's launch, she felt a sense of pride. They had done it. The project was ready to go global. Maggie looked up and saw Liam standing in the doorway once again. "I just wanted to check in," he said with a smile. "How are things going?" Maggie leaned back in her chair, a smile spreading across her face. "We did it. It's ready." Liam stepped into the room and held out his hand. "Congratulations, Maggie. You've done something incredible." Maggie shook his hand, feeling a surge of emotion. "Thank you, Liam, for believing in me." Liam nodded. "You've earned every bit of it, Maggie. This is your success, and I'm proud to have had a front-row seat to watch you grow." As Maggie stood there, shaking his hand, she realized just how far she had come. From cleaning floors to leading a global project, her journey had been nothing short of extraordinary. And as she looked ahead, she knew that this was only the beginning. Maggie had found her place, her purpose, and her strength, and she was ready for whatever came next. Maggie's new role had changed everything. The global project was on track, the team was flourishing, and the company was seeing the fruits of their hard work. Yet, despite the success, a lingering sense of unease had started to grow inside Maggie. She had come so far in such a short amount of time, and while she was proud of her accomplishments, the pressure was beginning to take its toll. She had always been the underdog, the one who worked quietly behind the scenes. Now, she was expected to lead, to make decisions that would affect not just her team, but the entire company. One evening, as the final stages of the project approached, Maggie sat in her office, staring at the spreadsheets on her screen. The numbers blurred together as her mind raced. She had the answers, but there was always that nagging doubt. Was she really cut out for this? Was she just lucky? Had her success been a fluke? She sighed, leaning back in her chair, and staring out the window at the city skyline. The weight of the responsibility felt heavy, and for the first time since taking on the leadership role, Maggie wasn't sure she could carry it. That's when her phone buzzed. It was a text from Liam. "I need to see you in my office. Can you come by in 10 minutes? Maggie quickly typed a response. "Sure, I'll be right there." As she walked to Liam's office, the doubts that had been creeping in only intensified. What could he want to talk about? She had been so focused on the project that she hadn't even realized how much time had passed since their last conversation. When she arrived, Liam was standing by the window, looking out at the city. He turned as she entered, a warm smile spreading across his face. "Maggie, come in." "How are you?" Maggie hesitated for a moment before replying. "I'm good, just a little overwhelmed." Liam nodded, his smile softening with understanding. "I can imagine. You've taken on a lot, and the pressure is intense. But that's why I wanted to talk to you. I've been watching you, Maggie, and I can honestly say that I'm more impressed with you every single day." Maggie shifted uncomfortably, unsure of where this conversation was going. "I'm just doing my job." Liam stepped closer, his tone serious. "No, you're doing more than that. You're leading this company into a new era. You've changed everything for us, and I don't want you to forget that." Maggie looked down, her throat tightening. She hadn't expected this kind of praise. "But what if I can't keep up?" she asked quietly. "What if I mess up?" Liam's expression softened. "We all feel that way sometimes, especially when we're doing something we've never done before. But you've proven yourself time and time again. You don't need to doubt yourself. You've earned every bit of success you've had. And more importantly, you've earned the respect of everyone around you." Maggie felt a lump form in her throat as the weight of Liam's words sank in. She had worked so hard, but the fear of failure had always followed her. "I just don't want to let anyone down," she admitted. Liam placed a hand on her shoulder. "You won't. You've already proven that you're more than capable of handling whatever comes your way. And I'm here for you, every step of the way. We're in this together." Maggie's eyes filled with gratitude. She had always admired Liam from afar, but hearing these words from him meant more than she could express. "Thank you, Liam," she said softly. "I needed to hear that." Liam smiled, his eyes warm. "I'm proud of you, Maggie. And don't ever forget how far you've come. You've already achieved more than most people could in a lifetime." As Maggie left Liam's office, she felt a renewed sense of purpose. The doubts that had been holding her back began to fade, replaced by the understanding that she was exactly where she was meant to be. She wasn't just a cleaning lady anymore. She was a leader, someone who had earned her place at the table. And now, she knew that she could carry the responsibility. She had already faced the toughest challenges, and with Liam's support and the trust of her team, she was ready to face whatever came next. The journey wasn't over, but for the first time, Maggie felt certain that the best was yet to come. Maggie had come a long way, and as the weeks passed, she began to feel the weight of her decisions. The project was now global, and the company was on the verge of a breakthrough, thanks to her leadership. Yet, despite the accolades and success, she couldn't shake the nagging feeling that something was missing. She had accomplished so much, but there was a part of her that wondered if she truly belonged at the top. Every day, she pushed forward with determination, but deep down, Maggie still struggled with self-doubt. One afternoon, as the company prepared for a major presentation to investors, Maggie found herself in her office, staring out the window. The view of the city was beautiful, but her mind was far from the skyline. She had poured everything into this project, yet there was a part of her that still questioned her worth. The past few months had been a whirlwind, leading a team, making tough decisions, and stepping into a role she had never imagined for herself. It all seemed surreal. Liam had been her rock throughout this journey, but even his support couldn't silence the doubts that echoed in her mind. She had been given opportunities that no one would have ever imagined for her, but did she truly deserve them? Was she really the leader they all thought she was? The knock on her door pulled her from her thoughts. "Maggie, can I talk to you for a minute?" It was Liam. He stepped into the room and smiled at her. "You look deep in thought. Everything okay?" Maggie hesitated before responding. I'm not sure I'm cut out for this." Liam's smile softened, and he walked over to her desk. "Maggie, you've proven yourself more times than I can count. You've led this team to places we never imagined. You've turned this company around. Why are you doubting yourself now?" Maggie looked down at her hands, fiddling with the pen in front of her. "I don't know. It's just, Sometimes I feel like I don't belong in this position. I came from nothing, Liam. I was just the cleaning lady. Now I'm leading global projects, making decisions for a multi-million-dollar company. It feels unreal. Liam sat down across from her, his gaze unwavering. Maggie, you belong here because you earned it. You didn't get this position by accident. You got here because you're capable, because you think differently, because you see things others don't. You've been through more than most people could ever understand, and that's what makes you such a strong leader. It's not about your title or your past. It's about what you bring to the table every single day. Maggie's heart raced as she listened to Liam's words. She had never heard him speak so directly to her fears. You've taught me a lot about leadership, Liam, she said quietly. I'm just afraid that one day, people will see me for who I really am, just someone who was lucky enough to get a chance. Liam shook his head, his expression firm. No, Maggie, you are not just lucky. You've worked hard for everything you have. And don't ever let anyone make you feel otherwise. You've created your own path. And the best part is, you're just getting started. Maggie felt a wave of relief wash over her. The tension that had been building up inside her seemed to fade with his words. She had always feared that her past would define her, but Liam was right. It was her actions, her choices, that mattered. The mistakes, the struggles, those were all part of her journey, but they didn't define her. They made her who she was today. Thank you, Liam, Maggie said, her voice filled with gratitude. I needed to hear that. Liam stood up and gave her a reassuring smile. You're welcome, Maggie. You've got this. And I'm here, every step of the way. The next day, Maggie stood in front of the investors, ready to present the culmination of all their hard work. The pressure was immense, but for the first time in weeks, she felt a sense of calm. She was no longer the woman who doubted herself. She was the leader, the one who had brought the project to life. As she spoke, her voice steady and confident, she realized that this was her moment. Not just to prove herself to the investors, but to prove to herself that she truly belonged. When the presentation ended, the room erupted in applause. Maggie stood there, a smile tugging at the corners of her mouth. She had done it, not because she was lucky, but because she had earned it. And as she looked around the room at the team that had supported her, she knew that she wasn't just leading a company. She was leading them all to something greater than they had ever imagined. Maggie had found her place, and it was exactly where she was meant to be. Maggie stood in front of the tall windows, looking out at the city. The sun was setting, casting a golden glow over the skyline. It was hard to believe how far she had come in such a short time. The past year had been a whirlwind of challenges, successes, and moments of doubt. But here she was, standing at the top of her game. The project she had led was a huge success, and the company was on track to achieve things they had never thought possible. But more than the professional accomplishments, Maggie had come to realize that the true victory was the transformation she had undergone. She was no longer the invisible cleaning lady. She was Maggie, a respected leader, a force in the business world. As she stood there, Liam walked into the room, a thoughtful look on his face. He had been a mentor and a guide throughout this journey, and Maggie was grateful for his unwavering support. Hey, Maggie, Liam said, his voice filled with admiration. I've been thinking about everything we've accomplished together. You've not only changed this company, you've changed us all. Maggie smiled, turning to face him. I don't know about that, she said humbly. I've just been doing my job. Liam shook his head, his eyes filled with sincerity. You've done more than that. You've taught us all something about leadership, about perseverance, and about believing in ourselves. You've shown us that anyone, no matter where they come from, can make a difference. Maggie felt a lump in her throat as she listened to Liam's words. She had always doubted her ability to succeed, always thought that her past would define her. But Liam was right. She had made a difference, not just in the company, but in herself. Thank you, Liam, she said softly. I couldn't have done it without you. Liam smiled and placed a hand on her shoulder. You did it, Maggie. All on your own. And you've earned everything you've achieved. Maggie looked out at the city again, the weight of the moment sinking in. She had been given a chance she had never expected. She had taken that chance, worked hard, and proved to everyone, including herself, that she was capable of achieving greatness. But most importantly, she had learned that success was about more than just what you accomplish. It was about how you carry yourself, how you lift others up, and how you stay true to your values along the way. She wasn't just a leader because of the title she held or the success she had achieved. She was a leader because she had the courage to believe in herself and the strength to overcome the obstacles in her path. As she turned back to face Liam, she knew that the journey wasn't over. There would be more challenges, more moments of doubt, but she was ready. She had learned that every step, every struggle, and every victory was part of the journey, and she was determined to keep moving forward. "I'm ready for whatever comes next," Maggie said, her voice filled with conviction. Liam smiled, proud of her. "I know you are, Maggie, and I'll be right here, cheering you on, every step of the way." As Maggie walked out of the room, she felt a sense of peace she had never known before. She had found her place, not just in the company, but in the world. She was no longer the woman who doubted herself. She was Maggie, the leader, the changemaker, and the woman who had proven that anything was possible. The future was hers to shape, and she was ready to take it on, one step at a time.